is Harry Gines, first black man of reparations in U.S. history. Today, I'm coming as the Invisible Man. Ralph Ellison fictional story of the Invisible Man. Today, I'm bringing the return, because it never was really a sequel, much of a sequel to the Invisible Man, whether it be by novel or whether it be by movie. There was never much of a sequel. So today, I'm going to do a continuous Invisible Man with presentations. Today, it's very important that our culture, black culture, U.S. black culture, there's a lot of culture concerning black people, the race as a whole. But in particular today, we're going to be featuring an artist, a British artist by the name of Edward LeBas. Edward LeBas is our feature today. Now, he also, as black people who may not be aware of that name in the fine arts industry, so that makes LeBas an invisible man. But what would be important? There's a lot of fine art out here. Paintings, sculpture, all kinds of craft in the area of fine arts. But what is it about a British artist who is known as an old master? That is a term in the fine arts industry. Those who set the standard, dating back to Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, Leonardo da Vinci will set a standard for many to follow. Michelangelo, Picasso, Monet, Rembrandt. Michelangelo, in particular, felt that he could compete with Leonardo da Vinci. You see, so it always becomes somewhat of a competition, you see. But just to be declared an old master is something that's rare in itself. The list is long, but for the centuries that it may cover, being an old master is really a short list. So Edward LeBas is, for fact, an old master, a British painter. But yet, how does that come into an importance under U.S. black culture? Because you would have to really study a great deal when it comes to trying to find paintings, sculpture of a modern era. You can go back in ancient time. We're not speaking in that sense of ancient. We're speaking something that would be known, like I said, the standards have already been set by Leonardo da Vinci. But as it evolves into more of a modern time, the old master is still carrying the tradition. But yet, something is always missing when it comes to an old master who didn't capture the moments. Because an artist back then was something like a journalist, or he was something, that could capture a moment. That was very important, to capture a moment, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a new baby being born, that was important, that someone wanted that moment to be sealed through the arts. So, with that being said, Edward LeBas is someone of a rarity as far as being an invisible man to black culture. So if I can just come right with where I'm trying to go with this, and I may become invisible also in presenting this, but I do feel compelled to bring this to the world so that as a study goes, you will be able to find yourself with an old master who captured moments in history of black culture. I'm showing the world today an oil painting by LeBas. If you can see anything within this masterpiece, if you're noticing the moment, I told you, the history of an old master is here who captured a moment of Black history. Now, if you even notice the figure, the launch face, as it moves, notice the launch face? Yes, as it watches by. This is very important to know. Now, I'm going to show you the year. Can you see the year? Is the year 65? Is 65 being shown to you and anywhere in this painting? Like I say, I'm invisible now. But yet you are to be able to see the 65. Now, if you go through history and understand as you're going through history, going back to 1965, when this was made, then you will be able to say, yes, an old master was also trying to capture a moment, you see, in our culture where there was violence in 65. Now, where was this violence at? I mean, you can see people in the back. Can you see people in the back sitting while the fight takes place? This was a night scene. This is a very difficult painting to bring to the world because it's made as a night scene, which would make that very difficult for any cameras to really get the real essence or the beauty of the masterpiece. It would take a great deal of work for cameras to do that. But for the sake of what I'm trying to bring something so that you can recognize it is possible to capture a moment. And then that moment, as you look back on it in 65, what was taking place in this old master's mind that he wanted to capture that moment of violence? A white man about to bash a Black man upside the head. You see, with a baton. Yes. So in 65, that's very important to recognize the actions then as it moves towards the 21st century. And we don't want to move too fast with that. Let me stay at 65 for just a minute, because John F. Kennedy had been killed not long ago, you see. So a lot of violence was out there and going on in the era of 65. It wasn't long ago since John F. Kennedy was put to rest. You see, again, that captures the moment in U.S. Black culture through the painting. Yes, just the date itself. Malcolm X, was killed around that time. You see, so there's a great history that was being captured of an oppression, some violence, and even the reaction. Reaction also is very apparent on the large face, as if it was desensitized, not getting involved. The other people who sat along the curb, it was a show. Used to it, desensitized. Something had happened where a white man became violent, you see, and took his baton upside a Black man's head. That is what the painting shows, the masterpiece, done by an old master, LeBas. Remember the name, LeBas. That's very important, you see, because as history is being told, you say today in the 21st century that you want to teach a new generation. That is very important, yes. But those waypointers and those who've been in the battle, trying to capture the moment, they're invisible. Yes, they're invisible to you because it's not known that there's someone in the fine arts industry who cared enough to capture the moment. Now, a lot of us are out here saying, that they're artists. And a lot of paintings are going on every day. I see on social media, there are great talents, you see, and it's just something that maybe you may know or maybe you don't know. But in either case, whoever does know, it's always a small percentage. A small percentage is not something to make a study on in the sense of it being the popular. You can't say, well, it's a few out here. Yeah, it is always going to be somebody and a few. The point being made that it's always just too small of a percentage that everybody says that should be acceptable. Yes, that thinking is an invisible man thinking when there's such an abundance of talent that can't get recognized. That's how the fine art industry works. Yes, it's a lot of talent out here, but yet it can't get to the forefront. Okay, but now that's almost like strange in itself to say that an artist like LeBas, who has many auctions where he sells out. You see, of course, he's no longer with us. Yes, he's deceased. Rest in peace. But it's just that he is a popular, known artist to be able to be auctioned. And that is very important to have a pattern of being able to sell your goods, your craft. LeBas is a popular old master. Now, what point am I making to that? I'm also still saying that there are a lot of disenfranchised artists. They're called starving artists. That's what they're called. Very talented, but by the time they reach their later years, before their work really gets any credit, I don't know how to change that. Like I said, I have the same situation, being a collector as I am, but when it comes to certain pieces of art, people say, well, is it signed? I just showed you a signature, his mark. I showed that to you. But even when you find everything excellent, everything intact, the signature, but yet it then comes down to ethnic. Yes, ethnic. Ethnic is something that in the fine arts industry, only the Black ancient art has the value. You see, like I said, LeBas is a popular, well-known in the auction houses to sell. But yet, as he chose an ethnic masterpiece, it becomes difficult. You see, the only interest could only lie within Black people. But yet, Black people also have issues in placing value on their own culture. So if the fine art industry is predominantly white, but yet they see no equal in the value, but yet ethnic is always the lesser. They see no equal. No. I'll repeat that. They do not see, because everything is based on a signature. If you have the signature, if you found a Picasso, but if you find a Picasso, yeah, let's use that as an example of a name that maybe is not an invisible man, a Picasso. But you find very little Picasso depicting a scene from 65, and Picasso at his height was around in 65 doing very well. You see, but yet he did not capture the moment of US Black history. You see very little Picasso doing that. You see, so my point is, LeBas is also a popular since 65 and does very well in the auction houses, but yet by choosing the ethnic, his work becomes the lesser because of the ethnic within it. Now, I don't make the rules, but that is how it works. And don't miss the point. Don't miss it. Because what I'm trying to say to you, because there are so many black artists today, very talented, but what does someone naturally do? Naturally, you would paint someone of your own kind. But yet, in doing so, based on the fine arts industry, you must recognize you just now stepped into an area of the lesser in value. Yes. I hope people are really feeling what I'm saying to you. You on canvas as a black person is a lesser value than a white person on canvas. Same name, great artist, but the ethnic will make you the lesser in the fine arts industry. Like I said, very popular artist, but his selection and his choice to capture the moment, but yet still in the fine arts industry, because of the ethnic within the masterpiece, it becomes the lesser in terms of value. Yes, that's how it is. There's a lot of people out here complaining that they're not getting their equal rights. Again, this is an old issue, a very old issue. There's nothing new about it. I mean, you weren't never equal. I mean, since you was brought over into the America, you never were anything thought of as being equal. You see, they didn't bring you here for that. And I say they being the whites in America. Black people were not brought here to be equal. So that can be, a little difficult for certain industries. Even in modern times, the culture has always reflected, as the painting, as the masterpiece shows, signatures, but yet the masterpiece is based on ethnic, thus becomes the lesser. So, you being a young artist out there, that's really crushing. A young black artist, I pretty much just crushed your whole career, in your thought processes. All this is the invisible man. You can wait and find out. Spend a lot of time and energy. Go right ahead. It's beautiful work that you do. But in that struggle to persevere, to survive, to eat, to survive and eat, your work is superior in every sense, skill level, but the ethnic in it will keep you hungry. A choice needs to be made. Are you trying to elevate in that industry? Because that industry, again, is an invisible man who doesn't see your work as a value next to something that is white. That's just how the industry works. Okay, how can I say that? No matter how you look at it, I could bring you other pieces, but we're just going to speak on it right now. I'm not going to bring my entire collection, maybe at a later time. But right now, with the return of the invisible man, the subject is Edward LeBas. That is the topic. That is the subject. A known old master, but yet still, because of the ethnic, places his masterpiece as the lesser in value. Now, if I fast forward a little bit and just name drop just a little bit, not trying to offend anyone or to devalue or even have something soaring. But if you took the careers of Diana Ross versus Farrah Fawcett, rest in peace, not trying to cause any conflict, just their careers. But yet the work of Farrah Fawcett is by far in value more sought in value than Diana Ross. That is true. Farrah Fawcett, I believe her son is Ryan O'Neal, in some painting of his mother, rest in peace, was held in a museum up in New York, upstate New York, the region, the area. Don't hold me to that. But a museum had his mother's portrait, rather life size. I mean, it was really large, and they had her painting. And after she was deceased, they declared it their masterpiece. But Ryan O'Neal knew that his mother only loaned that. And it was a battle in court over it. And of course, the end result, everything worked out. He won the case. The painting was put back in his possession in value of $12 million. And that has been a while since that painting has even surfaced. Farrah Fawcett, her painting hasn't surfaced in quite a while. And at last estimate, it was at $12 million. Farrah Fawcett, brilliant career. But I was speaking also on Diana Ross. Now, if I brought a painting out here of Diana Ross, you would think that, well, that should be worth some great deal of money. But yet we as a people fail to put value to our own icons. So when it comes to the fine arts industry, you don't really have much there in support of a rise in value. You have no votes. You see, so that has always been an issue that needs to be recognized as a young artist. Make sure. It may sound like I'm crushing you. I cannot change how the world turns. The invisible man is something that is real, but you just can't put your hand on it. It's real, but you just can't put your hand on it. Why can't your work be at the same level of other artists who are white, but yet their work doesn't even, you don't feel that you lost the contest. When you look at who won the contest and what was the winning piece versus what you done. I know how you feel. You see, but the invisible man is something that's real that you just can't put your hand on it. Why did I not win the contest? Okay, I really sympathize with you. I really do. And I too have learned, I've learned, a valuable lesson in the fine art industry as a collector. Again, this isn't to bash you, but I can't change how the world turns. The invisible man has things that he do that you just can't put your hand on. The differences, it's there. Now, whether we have any way of changing it, like I said, I'm not coming to be something of a nuisance. All I'm trying to do is enter the market. I'm bringing pieces, of high quality, you see, but yet the ethnic within it always seems to get me a lesser figure than what I expected. I mean, the Monet, if you know artistry, Monet, the lilies, the water lilies, you can even see that within this painting. This painting has multiple pieces of mastery in it. You can see the Monet, it's in it. It was the thing of that era, 65. This has it, and it also captures U.S. Black culture. But yet, it's something that I do, as a collector. But It is for auction. And I'm not trying to use it as my PowerPoint, but I just wanted to share that with the world so that wherever it may wind up, make sure you know the history within it. Because as a collector, I cannot, in fairness to my family, be able to keep works like this. It's really a shame to even withhold it. The next person may be able to do more with it other than me just keeping it in storage. I go get these things from storage to bring you these presentations, but yet it still comes down to it's in storage. It's not something unless you can bring the monetary out of it at some point, you know, it is a treasure, you know, and it would probably be better served if it was in someone else, you know, where you guys can see it. You know, me holding it, you will never see it. This is the first time it's been seen and viewed since 1965. Okay, this has never been shown anywhere in the world since 1965. So I've done the best I can to bring that to you, but don't look for me to be able to pull this out when it's actually up for auction. Okay, as a collector, as a man that, yes, you may know me as an activist, I have already introduced myself as the first man of reparations in U.S. history, but yet I also have to have a craft, a trade, a businessman that I can find profit like any other businessman. You see, so don't fault me. I mean, Berry Gordy sold Motown. Okay, so there's, you know, you want to call it selling out, you call it what you want. Okay, but I have to eat, and my family has to reap the benefit of this. And in turn, you will reap the benefit from it because now you have more of an access to it. With me, you know, I am a collector. I can have the sympathy, and I try to express that, you know, but at the same token, as a collector and a businessman, you know, weighing that up is not difficult for me. It really isn't. You know, it's not difficult because everything has to have a point of value. Without a point of value, you know, like I said, sitting in a storage, you know, where everything has to be properly maintained, that's a cost. Okay, that's the cost. Yes. With security and all that, yes, it runs up. It runs up a cost trying to maintain things. So sooner or later you have to, you know, thin out your collection. But in particular, I did mention Motown, you know, and Berry Gordy did sell to Sony. I believe that's how it went, you know, but again, that was something to secure the legacy because as it stands, all your Motown being part of Sony Records, you know, it's intact. That's solid. You know, that's solid. You can still find your history within Sony. But yet, I wanted to show one album today if I could, you know, because like I said, the industry being fine arts or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's all museum and black culture. I just wanted to just show just a minute of, can you see this gentleman by chance? Yes, I think he's coming into your screen. Yes, this is the late, great Jackie Wilson, you know, and the reason why I'm showing that is because the strangest thing of a cover, if you really look at this album, but yet notice the name, you see the name, and you see the face. Okay, I've said this before, in an industry, sometimes people do things that you may not recognize. You know, I mean, you know Jackie Wilson, but yet that was clearly a female. You know, that's not Jackie Wilson on the front cover. So keep that in mind as I bring other presentations to you of cover. Cover has importance, legacies of culture through old masters. That has the cover of our culture. Always remember, the invisible man is someone who is trying to do his best to preserve a culture for U.S. Black people. U.S. Black people must be the front runners. I mean, it's plenty of Black nations, but yet we're so divided to the point where, I don't know, I just can't see as a whole or collectively, that is a very difficult thing in the 21st century still. It just doesn't seem like everybody wants that moment to have unity. But what would it look like? Someone to capture that moment is yet to happen. It hasn't even happened in the United States, let alone trying to go globally. Many people think that way, that it could happen. Yes, these are moments in history that people could captivate. A united Black people, you see, all having some thought, of oneness. Now, in saying that, keep in mind, U.S. Blacks are, whether they realize it or not, I'm talking about U.S. Blacks. And the reason why they must be the front runner is because there's no place on earth like the United States. Okay, I mean, just the land and soil itself, I mean, it's clearly a paradise. So we can do things, whether it be in the fine arts industry, whether it be our talents, such as people coming out of Motown and all these other record labels. Let's just make sure that we as a people can support our own. You see, now, whether you get involved with the auction or not, you being Black, and maybe you might be one of the ones that want to, get your hands on it. I'm not here to sell you anything. That wasn't, that was just a notice from my end of it, But anyone that might wanted to intervene or something like that, by all means, you're more than welcome. Because at this point, I must part with this masterpiece. And that's a hurting thing for me, But like I said, it's not a difficult decision. The decision could even be, not giving anybody a guilt trip, but yet it passes on to everyone. Everyone must look into this presentation that I tried to bring and say, well, maybe I could have made a bid. Try the Zimmerman. The Zimmerman gun. I mean, he got $300,000 for the 9mm. You see, this is a worthy cause. I don't see where the culture is with the 9mm, but yet people took interest and wanted his people, white people, stepped up and made sure that that piece is in their possession. Okay? But yet now when it comes to our culture, who could I say the same thing would be willing to do that? You see, don't take the guilt trip. You don't have to. Because like I said, my decision has already been made. But if you felt compelled to say, hey, did I contact the museum? They don't answer anybody. The new museum, they don't answer anybody. I've tried numerous times to get in touch with them about things. It's almost like if you're not rich or a famous person that they recognize, I don't see anything, of anybody speaking that they have been involved with the Black History Museum. Never heard anybody talking about that. Well, what did you get put in? It's always somebody who was well known already, and they want to kind of thin out their collection. And of course, it's accepted without even, I think Spike Lee got Radio Raheem boombox in the museum, the new museum. That's a piece there. Congratulations, for getting the boombox in the new museum. That's Spike Lee. Not taking anything from you. It's just that nobody else can really get a reply. I just don't, it becomes an invisible man. It's a certain class of people that can get people on the phone and say, hey, I want to do something. They respond to those people. So all I'm trying to do is to let you know, as a little person that I am, but yet has the interest of the fine arts industry now. I do have the interest. Not speaking bad about anybody. All I said was how the industry works, how the culture within the fine art industry works. I mean, that's how it is. I mean, that's not to put you guys down or anything, or even give you the guilt trip. But no, you don't recognize ethnic within a masterpiece. The percentage is very small. I mean, Michelle Obama and President Obama, they have a masterpiece. I don't think people even put a value to it yet. I think that was a question that came up. What was the value? What was the value of the masterpiece of the ex-president and the first lady, the Obamas? You know, so with that being said, it never got out. You know, that's black culture, you know, but yet it never got out. I never heard the value of their masterpiece. It is a masterpiece, but I never heard the value of it. You see, it's been a long time since a black face of modern time been on a major museum wall, you know. So again, this is Harry Gines trying to bring as much of him to you as the return of the Invisible Man. I hope this has been something that you can pass on, you know, as something that was good. You want to contact me? Matter of fact, all you need to do is just use my first and last name backwards, Gines Harry 54, gmail.com. I'll even go as far to give you that. You know, I'm easy to reach. You know, if you had any interest, you know, and I'm always on Twitter. Everybody knows that. So I'm easy to find. You know, it's a piece that, like I said, whether you want to get involved with it, you know, from a monetary sense, or just retaining the message that I gave, you know, pass that on to those young people that are very gifted, but may be spending a lot of time. History hasn't caught up with them yet, you know, to be able to accept the ethnic within fine arts. Thank you, and I will look forward to doing another presentation in the area of fine arts. You know, I do have quite an extensive collection. Thank you.